Good evening. Are we on? Good evening. Good evening, Alderman Christian. How are you? Welcome. I'd like to call the City of West Bend Licensing Board for Monday, March 19th, 2018 to order and recognize that we do have all council members here in attendance. Actually, I'm calling the Licensing Board to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1 tonight is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of March 5th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item 2 is a temporary Class B beer license for the West Bend Troop Boosters for Night with the Troop being held at Regner Park Entertainment Area. Beer will be sold from the Kiwanis Building Friday, June 22nd, 2018, 5 p.m. through 9 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item number 3 is a temporary Class B beer license for the West Bend Tumbling Troop Boosters for 4th of July celebration being held at Regner Park Entertainment Area. Beer will be sold at the Kiwanis Building July 4th, 2018 from 10 a.m. through 6 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item number 4 is an operator's license for Audrey Lewandowski. And we have a presentation tonight by Chief of Police Ken Moyler.
Good evening. The Police Department has reviewed and recommends denial of this application for a long history and particular felony convictions for possession with intent to deliver narcotics and for a 4th and 5th OWIs. So for those felony convictions, we recommend denial.
I would also note that the statutes prohibit issuing an operator's license to somebody who has a felony that's related to the license that's applied for. And these are operating while intoxicated and drug offenses.
Thank you, Ian. Is Ms. Lewandowski here tonight? Nope. I would entertain a motion on the item.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item number 5 is an operator's license for Lana Reinsvold, and again, a presentation by the chief.
Police Department is going to recommend denial of this license based upon 2 OWI convictions. The second one was less than 6 months ago, or about 6 months ago. The conviction was in November 2017. So for those 2 convictions, we recommend denial.
Thank you, Chief. Is Ms. Reinsvold here tonight? I would entertain a motion on that item.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item number 6 is change of premise for Class A combination license, Sendix Food Market, located at 280 North 18th Avenue.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. And item number 7 is approval of operators' licenses. The list was in our packets.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. And there being no further business before the licensing board, I adjourn.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Public Works from March 19th to order. We have 4 items on the agenda. Item number 1 is the approval of the minutes of March 5th, 2018.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. That motion carries. Item number 2 is award contract 18-03 Rolfs Avenue Extension. Lost my train of thought there for a moment. Presentation by Max Marischal, City Engineer. Good evening, Max.
Good evening. Thank you. Tonight we come to you with a recommendation to award the contract 1803 for Ross Avenue Extension to Always Contractor. We received the bids on February 23rd, and we received 5 bids, which are summarized in the memo. The project consists of building the road extension with our standard urban cross-section, according to the agreement that the city has with Washington County. We have reviewed all the bids, and we reviewed the qualification of Always Contractors, the low bidders. They have not done work in the city before, so I contacted other communities where they did similar work, and they came back with positive recommendations. So based on that, we would recommend awarding the contract 1803 to Always Contractors at the unit prices specified in their bid, and in the amount specified in their bid of $620,458.50, and also a contingency of about 5% for an allocation not to exceed $652,000 for the construction of this project.
Thanks, Max. Thought it was interesting to see that all the bids were within about 5% of each other.
Yes, it was a very competitive bid. Apparently, people wanted to build that road for us.
And as you said, this is to fulfill a contractual agreement with the county that we had for taking over River Road so we can get the sidewalk built for the high school.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Item number 3 is permission to bid contract 18-07 Regner Park Tennis Courts resurfacing. Presentation by City Parks Project Manager Cindy Lights. Good evening, Cindy.
Good evening. Parks Department is requesting permission to bid Regner Park Tennis Court resurfacing. The project consists of installing armor crack repair, cleaning the courts, patching the courts, filling any low spots, and then striping them or putting on it's a 4-part acrylic surfacing system, and then striping them with tennis lines and pickleball lines. This would be bid as a lump sum base bid, and it wouldn't start till mid-August to give the activities on the court time to get finished. Contract period is 40 days. The project budget is just over $43,000, and that would come out of a couple of different accounts. We had an estimate in 2016 for this project of between $35,000 and $40,000.
Thanks, Cindy. Any comments or questions for Cindy?
Motion approved.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. That motion carries. Item number 4 is a permission to award contract 18-05 for the tree surety 2018. Again, Cindy Lineston.
Thank you. The Parks Department received 2 different bids for this contract on March 6th, and we recommend awarding the project to Dan Larson Landscaping for the base bid of $57,527, with the option of awarding the alternate number 1, which is $20 for hand digging holes, and if you allow for 40 different hand digging holes, that's $800. And awarding the alternate number 2 of $600 per watering cycle if needed. We would only award those additives if needed. The extra watering would be $8,400. This includes planting 293 trees in 9 subdivisions and on streetscapes and around the city, and also in some parks. There's a 18-month 18-month warranty on the project, so we can come back next summer and check and make sure that the trees are all viable. We had the low bid was from Property Solutions Contracting. we recommend not awarding to that contractor for the reasons that we've provided in your packet with the agenda information. Dan Larson's worked for the county or the city for a long time. He's completed, out of the last 7 or 8 years, he's had the contract and he's capable of performing the work. The money for this would be coming from 4 different sources, a couple different tree surety accounts. The urban forestry grant of $25,000, and then capital project accounts.
Thanks, Cindy. And for those that are watching or listening, we are not looking at the low bid, but we are, the difference in the bids was about $1,200, so it's not like it was a
Right.
remarkable amount.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.
Being no further business before the Board of Public Works, I adjourn.
Thanks, Rich. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order for March 19th, 2018. We have 8 items on tonight's agenda. Item 1 is approve the minutes from the March 5th, 2018 meeting.
Motion approved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments or corrections? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item 2 is a presentation by Ehlers for 2018A borrowing with a presentation by Phil Cosson. Evening, Phil.
Good evening. Phil Cosson with Ehlers. Nice to be back with you tonight. We've been working with city staff to put together the 2018 capital borrowing for projects that have been identified in your budget. We have a pre-sale report that should be in your packet as well. The pre-sale report is rather extensive. I was just going to highlight a few items in the pre-sale report, talk a little bit about timing, and then answer if you have any questions. The project amount that we've been targeted with over the last couple of years for general capital projects is $2 million. So the amount that we'll be financing for general capital projects is $2 million. There is a listing in that pre-sale report on page number 5 of the capital projects that do make up that $2 million amount. In addition to that, we did also include the $500,000 or $520,000 of water projects that were identified in the utility budget to be included as part of this capital borrowing. The reason to include it as part of this is then we don't have to go through and do a separate debt issue, incur the additional cost of issuance, a separate bond rating, et cetera. So we'll include that as part of this capital borrowing. The full amount, including issuance expense, is $2,595,000. Once we get the bids, we will break out the water utility portion, the general portion, have separate amortization schedules for them for budget purposes as well. This will be a 10-year note, as we have done in the past. The nice thing about issuing notes, which is 10 years or less, as opposed to anything over 10 years, is you have flexibility to move the money as you will within the project. So if one project cost comes up in a little bit higher and others lower, you have the ability to shift the money between those projects at your discretion. The timing for this is if you authorize it tonight and there's a resolution to do so, is that we'll be conferencing with Moody's Investor Service probably the first week or the second week of April. We'll have to schedule that call with them, and then we'll have the bid results to be approved at your regular meeting on April 16th, and then we'll be closing on this note issue on May 3rd. So that's when funds will be wired to the city and available for projects at that time. So that's a quick report on the pre-sale report. Not a lot we've seen, and you'll see in the packet, we did include on page 8, the last page of it, kind of what's been happening in the bond market. As you're probably aware, the bond market tracks a little bit with interest rates as far as if you think about home mortgages. Similar, so we have seen an uptick. We keep hearing about more pressure going up. So we have seen that representative of some of the bond sales that we have held of recent. In fact, bond sale occurred down in the village of Germantown that we held today. We thought the rates came in very well there, yet a little bit higher than what we had shown them a couple months before. So we've been experiencing a slight uptick in rates. We have built that into the pro forma analysis that we do for the city. So that uptick that we have seen is built into this already. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Phil. Out of curiosity, what was Germantown's rate?
I think around 2.5% for 10 years.
Okay.
Just a tad under that.
Any questions for Phil? Otherwise, I think we're going to item 3, which is a resolution providing for the sale of approximately $2.595 million general obligation promissory notes, Series 2018A, which is essentially giving them the green light.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Item 4, unaudited 2017 general fund results with a presentation by Finance Administrator Carrie Winklebauer.
Hello, good evening. I had provided the unaudited general fund revenue and expense reports for you to review for the 2017 year end. Again, these are unaudited figures as our annual audit actually began today. Overall, we ended the year with an estimated surplus of approximately $784,427.73. The main cost savings were in the building maintenance department, police, fire, and also public works departments. The main savings would be in the salaries and overtime and other various line items in the report. At the end of 2017, our estimated undesignated fund balance compared to the 2018 budget will be at approximately 25.11%. This is an increase from 23.08% from last year. And overall, the percentages in our fund balance policy, which states 17 to 30%. So, are there any questions on anything?
Any questions? Craig?
Just have one comment, maybe for the benefit of Alderman Christian. In simple terms, this is basically our savings account. Moody's bond rating agency suggests a minimum of 17% of our, is it our annual expenses, or 17% of our annual expenses to be in a reserve account. In 2013, we were at 11%. We were really at the bottom of the barrel, so we had pretty high debt. We had pretty low reserves. We scratched and clawed our way back to 17%, and we've kind of set that as that minimum as the threshold that if we ever go below that, it takes a public action of council to dip below that. It'd be some type of an emergency. So it's pretty awesome that in just 4 or 5 years, we've gone from 11% to pretty well in the range that Moody's feels is healthy. The median number is 30%. So typical communities our size are about 30% in savings, and we're working our way back there. So good work to everybody. It's taken a while, but we're making good progress. So again, good job.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need action on that, or is that just a presentation?
No, just a presentation.
All right. Now a resolution approving carry forward appropriations from 17 to 18.
Motion to approve. Second.
That's kind of a separate. Do you want to talk about that one first?
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Sure, no problem. Jay and I both worked on the carry forward list that I had in the attachments. The first list was for the general fund expenses, and that totaled $715,306.67. And the other list is for other various funds, such as the debt service fund, the Fund 21 for the library, the taxi fund, and also the sewer utility. And again, Jay and I had met, discussed these all with various department heads about all the different various carry forward requests.
Jay, did you want to touch a little bit on where we kind of reallocated some of this and then why we shoved the rest into the undesignated fund balance?
Yeah, I think that a couple of things to note on, I don't know exactly what page it is, but the 715 in purple and the 231 in gray. That shows up as 40, excuse me, page 49 out of 59 in the Finance Committee chart. Near the bottom of that page, the last section are all 2018 capital improvement projects that we're funding in addition to the $2 million that the council chose to borrow in 2018, funding with carry forward funds from 2017. So the thought process was we were able to complete a few more than just $2 million worth of projects. We're actually at 2.241 million in projects, and that's where those monies are coming from. At the time that you approved that borrowing or those capital improvement projects, it was made with the motion was made or the resolution was made with the understanding that the carry forward funds would be utilized if there were some. Otherwise, the monies would come out of the fund balance from the agreement with the county. So we're happy to report that the carry forward was in a significant position to be able to fund the 2018 projects. I think the rest of the projects, I don't know, speak to themselves. I can answer any questions that you might have about them, but when faced with this carry forward resolution last year, we did not fund any fire projects. There are several of the projects that were able to knock off the CIP list by carrying forward 2017 money for the fire department apparatus floors, a third of the defibs, and the fire station security. So some good news items to again be clicking off the CIP project list.
Thanks, Jay. Carrie, any questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, award quote Q18-03, Construction Management and Inspection Services, Ralphs Avenue Extension, with a presentation by City Engineer Max Marischal.
Good evening. Thank you. This item is to award the quote for the construction management for the construction contract that we just discussed earlier, which is the extension of Ralphs Avenue. Pursuant to the city's purchasing policy, we sent out requests for proposals, and we received 5 proposals on March 2nd, which are summarized below. We analyzed them for cost and also other requirements that we had asked the consultants to meet. And based on our analysis, the lowest bidder that meets all the requirements is Kunkel Engineering Group. And with that information, we recommend award of this contract to Kunkel Engineering Group in the amount not to exceed $43,507 as listed in their proposal. We would use our previously budgeted capital project funds that we had set aside for this contract.
Thanks, Max. Any questions for Max? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7, a resolution transferring Washington County funds for police dispatch consoles. Presentation by the chief.
Good evening again. So very briefly, the radio consoles are what we have in dispatch. They were to be scheduled to be replaced somewhat as part of the radio project. We split up the funding. As you know, the radios have been approved for purchase this year, the 2018 capital. We were hoping to purchase the consoles next year in the 2019 capital funding. However, because of the contract that the county had, negotiations that they had with Harris, who is supplying the radios and the consoles, they worked out a pricing that is only effective through this year based upon their agreement that the pricing would only be in effect until the project is closed out. We were under the impression previously that we were able to get this special funding in 2019 yet. We were recently informed that we could not, and the price difference for the consoles goes from the just shy of 110,000 that we're requesting to in excess of 200,000 if we wait till next year. So because of that huge difference, we are asking, and we talked to finance and to city administrator and feel that we can use some funding to purchase them this year. So that is the request that we are making.
Thank you. Jake, do you want to touch on where the transferring that from?
Yeah, the $450,000 contribution from the county for the master agreement that we've talked about already a couple of times this evening would be the funding source for this. This would be the first funds to come out of that $450,000.
Any questions? Otherwise, I'd entertain.
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a question.
Mike?
Did they give any indication why it was double the amount?
Sure. When this is a long history for those others that have been at the council, so the radios too that we purchased would have been about double because of the purchasing power. Right now they've installed new consoles at the county. They've I'm going to probably get these given. They either just did Hartford and they're doing Germantown. And so they said, because they can purchase them all and do them all right now, and they have all their installers in, same with the radios, if we all purchase the radios and can all get them programmed and everything all at the same time. So they claim that that's how good the pricing is that they gave us.
Rich?
So Chief, the Washington County did not work with us at all to try and figure this pricing out so that we could figure out our budgeting.
Well, no, that's not fair if I portrayed it that way. They did, but when they negotiated the pricing, they negotiated based upon when the radio project was going to be closed out. They never really gave us a date as to when that was, and based upon, I guess, what we were kind of figuring in the schedule. We knew it would be available this year. We didn't think it would be closed out till next year. And so that's why we thought we could push it off to next year. And when we were told that they're closing it out this spring, they said they were only going to keep that pricing effective through this year.
Okay, thanks.
Mike?
And that includes the installation and the radios themselves, or
yes,
is it
the
possible
radios,
to purchase the radios at this time under that price and then have them installed at a later date?
The radios were already approved, Mike, in the 2018 capital. So we're getting all new portable radios, and they're all being programmed. That's a separate budget that was done for that. You're coming in kind of late to this. And then the consoles were going to be replaced next year. And in addition to the radio project, the consoles themselves were going to have to be replaced anyway. They've come to their kind of end of life. That's kind of the way it is with technology. And they also had some problems that we had that they couldn't replace. It's called a sound card, but it's actually a whole circuit board. That was a outside vendor that supplied those, and they no longer are supplying them. So for both the radio project and because the consoles themselves had to be replaced. That's what we were hoping, to split it up and to do it at a different time. So the radios are already purchased, that's approved. We're getting those hopefully sometime spring or early summer, and then we'll get the consoles installed about the same time.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to recess the Finance Committee.
Thanks, Adam. I'd like to call the City of West Bend Common Council for Monday, March 19th, 2018 to order, and recognize that all 8 aldermen are here and accounted for. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of March 5th, 2018.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Items 2 through 13 under the consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item 14 is a resolution adopting the Washington County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Chief, do you have anything to say about that? Thanks.
Yeah, I just very briefly, this is potential funding that we could get based upon disasters and potential disaster preparedness. By signing this or by approving this resolution, it at least makes us eligible for the funds. If we don't approve it, we'd never be eligible. Rob Schmidt from County Emergency Government's here if you have any further questions. Also, Mark Petrovich from our Economic Development have been involved in this, and both agree that this is what we need to do in order to be eligible for future funding. Again, no guarantee, but just gives us the potential to get
Thanks,
funding.
Chief. Any questions for the chief? Otherwise, I entertain a motion on the resolution.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item 15 is an operator's license for Audrey Lewandowski.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item 15 is an operator's license for Lana Reinsvold.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item 17 is add a PUD Planned Unit Development Overlay District over the existing B5 neighborhood office and service district, and to promote design flexibility for the redevelopment of the West Bend Health Center, 1700 West Paradise Drive. The applicant is Freighter Health, and we have a presentation tonight by Business and Development Planner James Ranke. Good evening, Jim.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight's request is for a PUD overlay over the existing Freighter Health clinic over on Paradise Drive. Essentially what they're requesting for is some design flexibility for this site. It's actually to help accommodate and for the coordination of a new building. They're requesting for reduced street yard setbacks from Paradise Drive and from Vote Drive, and also a height exception from our code, which is a maximum of 35 feet, and they're asking to go to a maximum height of 59 feet that screens the mechanicals. The Plan Commission held a public hearing. There were no comments or concerns regarding that, and they recommended approval, or recommended positive recommendation to the council for the addition of the PUD overlay. Staff would recommend approval of the PUD as provided in our memo that we provided to you.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions for Jim?
Motion approved.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Thank you to the folks from Freighter. We appreciate you continuing to invest in West Bend. Pretty exciting project. If the council hasn't seen some of the plans, I know staff has them. Pretty neat stuff will be taking place out on Paradise Drive, so thanks again. Item number 18 is a resolution approving the sale of tax parcel number 291-1119-132-0042, and a presentation by City Attorney Ian Prust.
I think you guys all saw the news that the Quam Engineering development transaction closed on Friday. This resolution, you had previously approved the developers agreement, which said that the city would sell the property to Urban Vantage, which is their land holding LLC, for the sum of $1. We'd also had approval of that by the Redevelopment Authority back about a year ago when we had the joint meeting. This resolution is just one that was requested by the title company, showing the city's approval and who is authorized to sign.
Thanks, Ian. Again, this is development of office and I think is it 9 or 10 apartment units? 11 apartment units next to, right to the north of Dublin's.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item 19, under public hearings, is a resolution to vacate dedicated right-of-way for all of Franklin Street and a portion of Main Street north of West Washington Street. We have a presentation tonight by, I didn't show your title on here, Mark Petrovich, Head Planning Guru.
Thank you for the
like that.
promotion. The resolution before you tonight is for the final resolution for vacating the right-of-way, all of Franklin Street, which is a stub street just east of Main Street, just south of the former brewery buildings. That site, or that thing only serves the 2 adjoining parcels adjacent to it and doesn't have a public street function any longer, so we would recommend for that. The other part is a portion of Main Street. It's only that portion of Main Street that is currently encompassed within the public parking lot along the side of East Main Street and 7th Avenue there. The Plan Commission has recommended approval of this back in January. We have sent out the notices for the public hearing and have had only 2 comments come in. One was expressing the concern of losing the right-of-way in case we would ever have to reconstruct the intersection, and the other one was concerned over the loss of parking within this area. A portion of the adjacent properties are zone B2, which is a downtown district. They do not require on-street or off-street parking specific to their sites, and they want to ensure that they can have the development potential of their site without having to provide parking on-site, so they hate to lose this portion. That is the only 2 concerns that we've heard expressed regarding the elimination of the right-of-way.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions for Mark?
Yeah, from the previous meetings, we've discussed that parking lot, the small parking lot. I've driven past there quite a few times, and minimally I've seen during a business days, at least, minimally 3 vehicles there just about every day. Craig, you probably drive past it a lot more than me. What do you see?
Sometimes none. When there's something going on at the brewery, I'll see some cars there. Sometimes there's a car there for sale. So there's hit and miss, I would say, but it's pretty rare that it's full. And maybe the question is, what does it mean exactly for us to be vacating that? The parking's not going away, and even if the old car wash is developed, the city still maintains the right over the decision-making process still, right?
Correct. Because this particular road right-of-way, from where it came from, when we vacate it, the city still retains ownership until you choose to transfer, if you choose to transfer ownership to someone else.
So it's not being attached to another property now. Nothing's really changing. So I mean, it's really just kind of clearing up some past paperwork, if I understand it. That a discussion of is it going to maintain a is it going to continue to be a parking lot, is a discussion for when someone comes forward to develop that property.
That is correct. The Franklin Street right-of-way, because of where it came from, when we vacate that, it accrues back to the properties which it came from, which is the 2 adjoining properties. But this particular Main Street parcel, that doesn't occur. So you have that choice of hanging on to it or selling it off or whatever in the future. We're basically just discontinuing it as right-of-way. All of the other uses, the underground and overhead utilities within it, retain easements through the property, even if it's been vacated.
So the idea, whether it maintains or continues to be parking, or even if the intersection is rebuilt, it's really not a debate for now because the property isn't being transferred anyplace else other than held at the city still.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions for Mark? Mike?
So what is the debate then tonight, or what is the conversation? If we're not talking about moving it out of our possession or giving it to somebody else, what is the ultimate idea behind this talk then tonight? Please, if you could clarify.
It's physically, by statute, vacating and no longer declaring it road right-of-way for public purpose. It reverts back to owned land, owned by the city in this case, because that's what it reverts to, because of where it came from in the platting process. And the Franklin Street, which is tied with, would vacate that as well, and that would accrue to the adjoining parcels. So you're releasing the public right-of-way usage of Franklin Street, and you're redefining the parking lot to a piece of land, a parcel of land, rather than street right-of-way.
So at the end of the day, the public parking that is available there would no longer be public parking?
It depends. We have other public parking lots.
This one in particular is what I'm asking about.
Until it's changed in our statute or in our code, it would remain as it is. It is declared elsewhere in our code as a public parking lot.
Thank you.
I should have asked, is anyone from the public wishing to address the item? Mr. Butts?
Thank you, Mayor.
If you just let us know your name and address, that'd be great.
James Butts, owner of Close Clinic, representing the property at 712 West Washington Street. Little history lesson on my family and our company. We started out where Parkview Vet is now, and then it was Feller Pontiac, and before that it was Close Clinic. We purposely purchased in 1964 a property on the corner of 7th and Washington to be one block off of Main Street for the safety of our employees and customers. And over the years, we've lost our parking on 7th Avenue, both sides, Washington Street, one side, Beach Street, both sides, and our side of 8th Avenue. So we've continued to acquire property because of the parking situation being zoned B2 street parking. This parking lot has been used by our renters in the past. We currently do not have a renter in the lower level other than a few of our employees moved down because we have the space. We've obviously purchased the beautiful Dave Howard property many years ago to clean that up, which we now use also for parking. So I personally don't understand some of the things that Mark said, that if we're vacating Franklin, I understand why. But why we would need to change that parking, if to me it sounds like it's the first step of getting rid of it. So when I was zoned B2, we've always supported downtown. I still support downtown. I'm not here to say we need a roundabout or change the intersection, but we've lost everything that we have potentially for our lot in the way we're zoned. And I'm not saying it should be given to anybody, but I believe that it should stay for the sake of the city. By changing that property, I wrote down 4 points. Number one, before the 4 points, is it does have a direct impact on our downtown property. So I'd like to share that. But by changing this in any way, I believe that the city, when it comes to future options, you are restricting yourself on intersection possibilities, development of the Riverwalk in the sense of parking and access, downtown West Bend, access to North Main or where West Bend is going, and the zoning of North Main. So I would ask you to take that all into consideration, and if something doesn't need to be done, I kind of wish that it would be tabled at this time. Thank you, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the public wishing to address the item? Feel free to step up. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion just to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Any questions, comments from anyone? Otherwise, I got a couple of thoughts that maybe can clear up some of Jim's questions. I think the idea where this started was when we had some interest in the properties there being developed. My personal opinion is that it would always remain parking. The idea would be that if it was privately owned with a public easement across it, it would allow for the parking lot to potentially be doubled in size or even larger if it encroaches on the private property a bit. Right now, the stalls, I believe, point toward the east. I think the math is it needs another 12 feet wide, something like that, might be 18 feet wide, to actually double up on the parking. I would think, and I know we can't hold any future councils to this, but I like the idea of offering some flexibility so that property has a higher chance of being developed. At the same time, it has a public easement across it, so it's not just parking for whatever that use would be, but parking for the public. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Again, I fully recognize that we can't hold future councils' feet to the fire and make decisions. This really was to offer future, to answer your question, Jim, I don't think there's any inkling here right now of getting rid of the parking lot. Does it take us one step closer to having flexibility in the future? Certainly. What that flexibility is, I don't know, and the council can decide now if they want to take that flexibility step now or wait until someone comes forward with a full development proposal. And if we've got some debate, discussion, Mark, if it makes sense, should we break these up into two discussions of Franklin versus the parking lot?
I prefer that we do.
Okay. That'd be fine. Then why don't we talk purely on the Franklin Street chunk, which doesn't seem to have any heartburn on. Why don't we entertain a motion on that item?
Motion to approve the Franklin.
Second. A motion has been made and seconded specifically for, it says here in the agenda, all of Franklin Street in the, yeah, that is all of Franklin Street.
Yep.
For all of Franklin Street, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
That motion carries. Let's entertain a motion on vacating the parking lot that's under discussion. Adam?
I guess I have some comments because we've talked about this on the bid board. And normally it comes down to, well, we want to see Main Street go through there again, which there was pretty good discussion about it, but the way that we redid our Main Street, it basically changed the whole aura of it. You're never going to open that up and have cars going through it like you used to. To me, yeah, it's a parking lot, but it's a parking lot because we vacated Main Street, and this next step is not getting rid of that parking lot, but it's also saying, hey, we're not going to ever extend Main Street that way again. So I know we were looking at this for when the brewery was looking to be redeveloped, but I'm assuming the same question is going to come up if someone new comes to the brewery. So I was for that then, and I guess I kind of am now. It's going to remain a parking lot for the time being. And if for some reason it ever did get opened up, the parking lot would go away anyways. So you're kind of double-edged sword.
Thanks, Adam. Mike?
I guess a lot of things that have been said here so far make a lot of sense. However, we are continually looking for parking solutions in the downtown area. Anything that further removes parking opportunities in the area, to me, does not make any sense at this point. The idea that we will never consider redoing the Main Street or opening it back up or changing the dynamic of that, to me also seems like a far-fetched thought. Anything is possible, so I don't think that we should say that we're never going to do that, so we should just forget about this. The idea of the Riverwalk potentially being a very highlighted opportunity downtown, and the potential that would continue north of Washington Street. The use of the river is important, I think, for the public. I would be against voting, or I would vote against this option at this point.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else? Rich?
I guess from my perspective, I'm not too worried about the potential of losing the parking there. With the Riverwalk, we've already removed 5-6 spots, and there was no concern at that point. I guess I don't see why this would be any different. So at this point, I think I would support it.
Anybody else? If not, I would entertain a motion on the item.
I make a motion to vacate the portion of Main Street north of Washington Street.
Second, and like I said, it's not getting rid of the parking lot, it's just cleaning up paperwork, so. And there are no plans to do anything. This isn't the next step for anything that's on the table right now.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any final questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
Stephanie, if you could do a quick roll call, that'd be great.
Alderman Butchlick?
Aye.
Alderman Christian?
Nay.
Alderman Chevalier?
No.
Alderman Jenkins.
Aye.
Alderman Caston.
Aye.
Alderman Hoogaster.
Aye.
Alderman Williket.
Aye.
Alderman Kist.
Nay.
Motion carries 5-3.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Butts, nothing will happen without you getting notice, and to my knowledge, there are zero plans to do anything with that right now. Good. Item number 20 is a report by Alderman Caston and/or Alderman Williket regarding the Plan Commission meeting.
I got it. So we talked about the PUD for the Freighter Clinic that we talked about here and just recently approved. Pearl of Canton, downtown West Bend, is making a facade improvement to the old Sears building. Looks quite nice. I'm looking forward to that one. MOA has their cultural campus, and we did some a discussion about that. And then finally, the industrial site on River Road in Lang, we talked about splitting that into 3 lots and approved the construction of a building on those lots.
Thanks, Rich. Any questions for Alderman Caston? Item number 21 is a report by either Alderman Chevalier or Williket regarding the Tourism Commission meeting.
Well, this might be your last chance, so do you want to? All right. We met March 6th. We basically went over what our tourism budget is. Most of the money, $100,000, goes to the chamber, 50 goes to MOA. And since our room tax has been increasing over time, there's about $90,000 that we can put towards other tourism-related items in the city. So we basically started discussing putting out applications there for nonprofits to apply for that money that would have to benefit or go towards tourism, and kind of where our dollars are and where we're going to spend them, but nothing definitive yet. Is that good?
That was really good.
Good job.
Thanks, Adam. Any questions for Adam? And item number 22, a report by Alderman Williket regarding the downtown bid board meeting.
That was right before the tourism committee. We approved the Downtown West Bend Association marketing plan. The bid gives them about $12,000 that they spend, and we get to look at and approve of advertising for the downtown. And then we also approved the budget for the Roots and Branches. They take care of the planters downtown with the flowers, and that's about it.
Thanks, Adam. Any questions for Adam? Then being no further business before the common council, I adjourn. Are there any announcements, as we will be adjourning the finance committee from closed session? Any announcements? Yes, sir.
Can I comment on something that I think was brought earlier?
Sure, come on up. Let us know who you are.
My name is Andrew Novak. I own Property Solutions Contracting. I believe earlier you guys made I forget what you call it, but you approved the tree surety contract. So for my own reasons, I waited until after that was done. But I would like to address some things that were put forth to you guys in the packet about prior work that we did in the city. I understand that all of you guys were furnished with notes from the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department on that.
Wait, hold up one sec. I wasn't sure we were going to talk about this. It's just an announcement section, but we would welcome you to come back at a regular scheduled agenda item if you would. Sounds like what you're about to get into is probably pretty important, and the public should be. His concern?
Well, it was attached to the agenda.
If we're okay talking about it, fine. I didn't want you to slap my legal wrist. So you can talk about this without it being,
You're just revisiting a previous item.
Fire away.
Sorry, I'm not on the up and up with all the procedures.
Nope, clearly me either.
But like I said, I specifically waited until after it was motioned or whatnot. So some of the things that were put forth in this about my business were, to be frank, exaggerated at worst and maybe fabricated at best. I asked the Parks Department to please share with me what they were going to put forth in this, and There are things in here that say we, multiple customer complaints were received. I went through the effort before I came up here to print out every email between I and the past Parks, Recreation, Forestry, Parks Project Manager. And nowhere in there was there mention of numerous customer complaints. There was mention of a customer complaint. Furthermore, and I'm just going to go down the list of all the things that they put in here about us. It says that we dug holes and for trees and left them open, sometimes for over a weekend, and it insinuates that we did this all over the city. There was a hole for a tree with a cone left in it, and we planted 285 trees up here that summer. It says we damaged new seal coating on a private driveway. It was a private street, and we were on the apron, which was in the city right away, last I checked, and there was no damage. The customer that complained to us never followed up because there was no damage. It says that we hit a mailbox on private property and drove off without reporting it. A nearby resident called it into the West Bend Police Department. The police department provided the details. It makes it look like we willfully did a hit and run. At the time, it was explained to the project manager when he notified us that day, when it was taken care of, replaced, and paid for that day, that we didn't know we hit it. Because when you're driving a 30,000-pound truck and the back of a trailer 30 feet behind it hits a 4x4 mailbox, you don't know you hit it. We took care of it the same day, paid for it, and I spoke with the 75-year-old man at his house. It says, again, some of the trees, plural, that were planted were not straightened properly and were sometimes not staked for weeks after planting. See photo at the left. That was one tree of 285. I can't speak to what happened with it, but the tree lived because we did not replace it under the warranty, and it was not warranted per the contract documents. And I don't know if this tree was hit by a customer with his lawnmower. I don't know why this tree is the way it is, but again, it's one of 285. It says trees were not planted according to accepted practice and were not adequately watered or mulched. Again, it says trees. One picture. And I can't speak to where this picture lies within the 285, but per all the emails I printed out, this was the only tree of 285. It says the former Parks Project Manager was required to follow the contractor around as he planted trees to make sure he did it correctly, because after a short while, it was obvious the contractor was not exhibiting a standard of care in performing the planting that was required by the city, and that we essentially had to be taught how to plant trees. I don't remember the project manager ever following us around, and I was on site every day. Furthermore, I think if he was following us around, it would be noted in one of the, 40 emails that I printed out, which was every single one I could find between him and I during the course of the project. It says that some of the trees were not the specified size. Again, in the emails, I submitted the invoices to the city that show exactly what was purchased and what the sizes were, and everything conforms to the specifications. It says that we did not fulfill the conditions of the contract. Trees are all on the, or some stakes are still on the trees almost 2 years after planting. The specifications call for them to be removed within 18 months. 18 months was February of this year. Admittedly, I do still have some trees that have stakes on them, and I affirmed many times that we would get them out this spring. But that was, to be frank, the least of my concerns. I just wanted to speak to you guys about it because a lot of what was put forth to you about us was not true. And I understand that the city has a vested interest in working with the contractor that they have worked with for many years, but that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming forward. Thank you. Any other announcements? Adam?
At this time, I'd like to reconvene the Finance Committee for item 8, entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to state statutes, section 19.85, sub 1, sub E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session letter of intent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Can Have a roll call, please.
Alderman Butchlick?
Aye.
Alderman Christian?
Aye.
Alderman Chevalier?
Aye.
Alderman Jenkins?
Aye.
Alderman Caston? Alderman Hoogaster?
Aye.
Alderman Willikat?
Aye.
Alderman Kist?
Aye.
We're on closed session.
And we will be adjourning out of closed session. Thank you.